Long ago, in a quiet village surrounded by thick forest and fertile farmland, there flowed a wide and powerful river. The villagers called it Omi-Ai, the river of life. For generations, the river had been both a blessing and a warning. It watered their crops. It filled their fishing nets. It carried their canoes safely between villages. But the elders always spoke of it with caution, because the river had a rule. Every year, before the heavy rains arrived, the village made an offering to the river. A goat, sometimes a ram, sometimes baskets of food and palm wine. The sacrifice was left on the riverbank before sunrise. And every year, the river remained calm. The water never rose too high, the banks never broke. The village remained safe. The ritual was older than anyone living could remember. No one questioned it. No one dared. The elders always repeated the same warning to the young ones. The river protects those who respect it, but the river remembers those who forget. For many years, the ritual was performed without fail. But as time passed, the village changed. The younger generation began to doubt the old stories. They laughed at the idea that a river could demand offerings. Water is just water, they said. Floods happen because of rain, not spirits. Even the new village chief, a man named Daramola, believed the old customs were unnecessary. He was a practical man, educated in a distant town, confident in logic and reason. When the rainy season approached that year, the elders reminded him about the annual sacrifice. He waved his hand dismissively. "We will not waste animals feeding a river," he said. "It is superstition." Some villagers felt uneasy, but no one openly challenged the chief. The old priestess of the village, Mama Abeni, spoke quietly during a gathering. "The river has watched this village longer than any of us have lived," she warned. "Do not test its patience." But her words were ignored. Days passed. The offering was never made. At first, nothing happened. The river flowed calmly as always. The villagers continued their lives. Farmers worked their fields. Children swam near the banks. Fishermen cast their nets into the water. The younger villagers laughed among themselves. "You see," they said, "nothing has changed." Then the rains began. At first, the rain was gentle. Then it grew heavier. Soon the sky remained dark for days, and the sound of rain drummed constantly against rooftops. Still, the river remained within its banks. The chief felt proud. "You see," he said during a village meeting, "the old ways are not necessary." But that night, something strange happened. A fisherman named Tunde was returning home late from the river. As he tied his canoe to the bank, he heard something unusual. A voice, soft, low, almost like water moving over stones. He froze. The voice seemed to come from the river itself. At first, he thought it was his imagination, but then he heard it clearly. "A life. For a life." Tunde ran home and told his wife what he heard. She urged him to report it to the elders. The next morning, the elders gathered by the river. The water had risen slightly overnight. Not dangerously, but enough to make them uneasy. Mama Abeni stood silently at the edge of the water. Her face was tense. She knelt and touched the surface of the river with her fingers. "The river is restless," she whispered, but the chief dismissed the concern. "Rain causes rivers to rise," he said. "This is normal." That night, the rain grew stronger. Thunder rolled across the sky. By morning, the river had risen higher than anyone had seen in years. Water crept closer to the first row of houses. Still, the chief insisted there was nothing supernatural about it. But that evening, several villagers gathered near the riverbank again. The water was moving faster now, swirling violently. Then they heard it, the same whisper, but louder this time. "A life. For a life." Fear spread quickly through the village. The elders demanded an emergency meeting. Mama Abeni stood before the crowd, leaning on her staff. "For generations," she said slowly, "this village has honored the river. We forgot our promise this year." She looked directly at the chief. "The river is asking for what it was denied." Silence filled the gathering. No one wanted to speak. No one wanted to imagine what that meant. But the river continued to rise. By the next morning, the flood had reached the first houses. Families rushed to move their belongings to higher ground. Children cried, animals panicked. The river roared like a living creature. That night, the voice returned again, louder than ever. echoing across the entire village. A life for a life. Even the chief could no longer deny what was happening. Panic spread through the village. Some people suggested offering animals immediately. Others wanted to flee to nearby villages. But Mama Abini shook her head slowly. "It is too late for animals," she said. "The river has already spoken." No one asked what she meant. They were too afraid to hear the answer. The water continued rising through the night. Soon the flood reached the village square. Houses collapsed under the force of the current. People gathered on the highest hill nearby, watching their home disappear beneath the water. And still the river roared. Then something unexpected happened. A young woman stepped forward from the crowd. Her name was Sade. She was the daughter of a fisherman who had drowned years earlier in the same river. She walked slowly toward Mama Abeni. "If the river needs a life," she said quietly, "then let it take mine." The crowd gasped. Her mother began to cry, but Sade remained calm. "I have listened to the river my entire life," she said. "It gave us fish, water, and life. Now it is asking for balance." Mama Abeni looked into her eyes for a long moment. "You understand the cost," the old priestess said softly. Sade nodded. Without another word, she turned and walked toward the river. The villagers followed at a distance. The floodwaters swirled violently around the bank. The current was strong enough to pull down trees. Yet Sade walked forward steadily. When the water reached her knees, the wind suddenly calmed. When it reached her waist, the rain slowed. And when she stepped fully into the river, the water stopped rising. The flood froze in place, as if the river itself had taken a breath. Then slowly, unbelievably, the water began to fall. Within hours, the river returned to its normal level. The rain stopped completely. The storm clouds drifted away. The village was saved. But Sade was never seen again. In the years that followed, the villagers rebuilt their homes, and they never forgot the lesson. Every year before the rains begin, the people gather once again by the river. They bring offerings, they sing prayers, and they remember the young woman who walked into the water to save them. And sometimes, on very quiet nights, fishermen say they hear a soft voice in the current. Not demanding, not angry, just watching, because some rivers do not forget, and some debts are paid only once.